We've been getting some good hits on our people's fundraising platform. So
Oh, is that nice?
yeah, we had a lovely little fundraiser that some young girls did that we're promoting. They just found us and popped on and used your system, and it all worked beautifully. We
Yeah.
were, we came into the office and there was suddenly this flood of donations coming through from something that we hadn't set up, which was lovely.
Yeah. Well, we really try and highlight that, though, because there's a difference between supporter engagement and supporter participation. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of charities think it's all about supporter engagement, where you set up your events and things like that, you go out to your supporters. But supporter participation is so powerful, because where there may be one or two in the team to set up events and then engage your supporter base, you may have 1,000, 2,000, 300 supporters, and if you really empower them and say you can do all these amazing things, they'll go off and do them without you really needing any input.
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely.
to your point, then you wake up, one day you go to your email and there's lots of donation receipts. It's really good. So, okay. So today we're going to talk about shops and the increasing use of shops in different contexts. We'll go through setting up a shop. No, actually, I think first what we'll do is we'll go through giving some examples of shops. Okay. So Beams do loads and loads of fundraising. So one example of a shop is if, charity, good cause, they've got branded merchandise, branded memorabilia. And so this is quite a nice example of that. So they can publish this page, and the conversation, either via their website or via socials is, if you want, you can buy a branded umbrella or a mug and whatnot. And as I was mentioning before, I don't think this is a really large revenue generator for charities, but it's one that you may want to have, and it will be a constant revenue generator, but a low revenue generator for you. Okay. Now, what's a more interesting use of a shop is where you take the basic donation ask and you enable and you allow your supporters to be essentially more involved in that donation ask. So here's a really nice one. So this is on People's Fundraising as opposed to a branded platform. And what we're doing here, we're going to donate food items. So it's for Bedford Food Bank. And what I'm allowed to do here, so as opposed to Bedford Food Bank saying, give us donations and we're going to buy some food, what this allows me to do, it allows me as a supporter to direct more where I want my money to go to. So I can buy Christmas bundles and hygiene packs. And I can buy as many as I want, in actual fact. So as opposed to the donation page saying, if you give us £30, we'll buy a hygiene pack. If you give us £40, I'm actually buying them. And if I then go to checkout, it'll tell me how many I'm buying. But interestingly enough, I can gift aid it. Now, this is really important, because why is it that you can gift aid when you're specifically buying items for example, beneficiaries, say? Well, it's gift aided because the contract in terms of these types of shop, it's called a symbolic giving shop, is that the food bank will say, we will in actual fact buy 10 parcels for one. But if we have enough 10 parcels of one, we're going to use that money for where the need is required. Okay. And therefore, this is actually seen as a donation. Okay. But it's a really, really nice way of enhancing the donor experience. And again, I think more people are starting, a bit like the regular donation ask is being replaced by the members lottery. I think things like this will replace the single donation ask. And again, for the supporter itself, it's just more engaging, and they just feel more part of where the money goes. It's more directional. Okay.
Sorry, could you just explain that again? So could you just go over that again? Because I wasn't sure. I thought that if people bought something, and as we'd said before, it was a tangible thing, they weren't able to gift aid it. So I'm sorry if I haven't quite understood this. How is it they're able to include gift aid if are they buying the parcel, or are they giving you money to buy the parcel? What's the difference,
Yeah.
basically?
So you can't reclaim gift aid if the person giving the money is receiving a tangible benefit. That's the rule. And so this is Bedford Food Banks. They put a nice little theme on here. They could go out to their supporters and they could say, give us a donation, and this could describe where the money goes. For example, look here, it says where the money goes and whatnot. They could make this look a lot nicer. Okay, but from the supporter perspective, they're not getting any tangible benefit. The money's going to Bedford Food Bank, and what they do with that money, nobody really knows. Okay, although they're saying, right now with the shop experience, okay, the difference is that instead of saying £23 will buy a food parcel, I'm actually given the experience that I can select how many food parcels I want to buy, or how many food parcels for two I want to buy. Okay, and that money is going to Bedford Food Bank, and Bedford Food Bank know that I want to buy 10 parcels for one, and so Bedford Food Bank will buy 10 parcels for one. However, if they have too many food parcels for one, they're going to use that money for something else, and that's a contract on the page. But again, me as a supporter, I don't receive any tangible benefit for that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying now. So basically, they're just going to say donate, I don't know, £48 on here and gift aid it, and you're the one that's going to go away and buy the stuff and give it to the beneficiary.
That's right.
Okay, I understand. Sorry.
And no, it's a really, really good question. But so people don't read at all. And so, yes, the traditional donation form where you put £30, buys a, food parcel one, £40, you haven't really got a lot of space to describe what you're doing. So this also becomes more descriptive. But also that's it. It becomes more descriptive. You have more space to describe the things that you need. Okay, which is really, really perfect, and quite a lot of charities are doing this now. So let's look at another one. So Threshold, they support homelessness in Swindon, and they've done a very similar thing. So they've taken the not the donation page, but they've taken the shop page, and again, it's a virtually identical structure for a different need. By the way, if you notice now things like this changing and choose your donation, whereas on here you had about and buy now, on all of the pages you can change all of these labels. So just look out for that, and it customizes it a little bit more, makes it more relevant. So this is really nice. Instead of about, they've made this label contextually specific. So where are you sleeping tonight? It talks about that, which is really, really nice. Okay, so they've taken the same shop page, and look, I can buy period products, I can buy toiletries, I can buy pajamas, and it's really, really nice. And also it shows it's making your charity, your not-for-profit, more transparent in terms of the things that you need money for. And by the way, these could be items, they could be services, they could be anything that you're selling, but essentially you're allowing people to direct where the money is going. And this is really nice. Look, you can buy a key working session. How cool is that? And they could have put some links here to talk about what that actually is, or welcome pack. They could have actually described this more and say, what is a welcome pack? And so you can link it to other pages and whatnot, but really, really nice. And let's go to a last example here. Right, the Sheffield Cat Shelter, they have a similar thing, but they've reworded it as a wish list. So this is using a shop now in a slightly different context. So a lot of charities have their Amazon wish list, don't they? Okay, so what are the pros and cons for having the Amazon wish list? The pros and cons for having an Amazon wish list is you're actually tied to a vendor, which is Amazon. Okay, but maybe you need to get your products from other places. Okay, and so when people buy things on Amazon, it's just that the charity is going to get those items. So you could literally just replace that for a wish list, and it doesn't matter where these come from. I mean, maybe the charity would get these from Amazon, but maybe they'll get them from other vendors as well. So again, this is the wish list idea is a really nice use of a shop. But I would suggest that the Amazon wish list is good, well done for Amazon for doing it, but it's a little bit restrictive to Amazon. And it's not really that you as a charity should really promote Amazon. Nobody cares about people's fundraising, Just Giving, Eventbrite, Amazon. People care about supporting you. So where you need to get your items and products and services. They could be in Amazon, they could be lots of other places. So create your own custom wish list. And then people can buy those products or services to support your charity, to support your beneficiaries. And, again, if you really want to show where you're buying them from, you can put links to also where you're buying the products from. Okay. So, yeah, move away from Amazon wishlist and use the shop function for Amazon wish lists. But this is really cute, isn't it? Yeah, that's nice. And again, you've got the show more. If you have a certain amount of text on here, then it will open up and show you the rest. Okay, so there's some really nice uses of shops. And also the other thing, the other use of a shop is a contextual shop. So again, you've got the wish list example, you've got the extended donation example, you've got the example whereby you're literally selling your branded items. But then also you've got your contextual shop. Now, what is a contextual shop? Just say you have the example whereby, or given the example whereby, just say you do a sleep out. Okay, so you set up a team fundraising page. Supporters can go to the team fundraising page. Supporters can sign up on that team fundraising page, and they'll get their own individual page, and they can go out to their family and friends and get donations. Okay, which is perfect, right? And you could, for example, create a contextual shop to support the activities of that particular event. Say the event is a sleep out sleepover, you could create a contextual shop whereby maybe you're selling beanies, maybe you're selling sleeping bags, maybe you're selling mugs that the supporters can use when they go and do their sleep out itself. Now, those mugs may be branded mugs, so it's a really nice context in which to sell the branded mugs and the branded beanies. And so that, therefore, you're selling your branded items, as opposed to, why would anyone go to your shop that's just got a whole list of your branded items? So by making it contextually relevant, you're introducing your own branded items at a point where somebody actually has a reason to go and look at the shop. Okay, so I'm going to buy some beanies and some mugs. But even if they weren't your beanies and mugs, you could still make some income from that as well. So you could say, okay, you could calculate that you're going to buy, I don't know, a batch of 10 beanies. It's going to cost you £10, but then you're going to sell each beanie for £2, for example. Okay, so yeah, contextual shops are also another way of using shops. Now, another way of using shops is to support things like events. So if you've got an event and you are buying tickets, say for entry, on that event page, you can also sell things like pre-order food, pre-order drinks, but you can also use that or use shops to pre-order items for an event as well. Any questions on the different uses of shops? Catherine and Catherine. Yes, Catherine.
Okay, right. So I'm thinking, because we don't have a shop page at our charity, so I'm thinking of when I go and do my poet visits, I'd like the parents to be directed to somewhere where they can buy the book. And I was thinking that a shop page to me originally was that you go onto the shop page, like the first one, and you buy a mug or whatever. So obviously you've shown me some different things here. So the idea I was thinking is that they would go onto the website, they could buy the book, and is there space for them to leave information? So I would need to know things like, if they were buying a book, do they want me to dedicate it to somebody? How many books do they want? That sort of thing. Is there space? Do you think that's the sort of thing that would work?
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing that's like an example of a contextual shop, isn't it? You go to a school, you deliver your poetry, and then you give people the opportunity to buy those poetry books. So let's go into setting up a shop, because that will answer some of your questions. But you can enhance that experience for schools as well. Now, we talk about this all the time. Charities need to, instead of going to schools, instead of going to companies, instead of going to sports groups and just asking for free time, free resources, you need to start working more with them in partnership. Typical school wants to fundraise, but it wants to fundraise for itself. It doesn't want to fundraise for you. Okay. However, a school will fundraise for you if it's in partnership. So what I'll show you is a way that you can set up a shop. You can sell your poetry, but then you can do something such as you can say, okay, because we're coming into your school, because we're presenting poetry, and because we're asking your parents, family and friends to buy, not our group, but your group of supporters, you could say, we will split the income with you. And that's a far more compelling proposition than you just asking the parents to buy your poetry, where the money is going to you and your organisation. And also the school will advertise and market it more. Okay, if you can give that sort of proposition. Now, the only thing you need to decide then is how much would you split that income. Okay.
See, I wouldn't be able to do that because my book has been sponsored, and I have already said that the proceeds from the book are totally going to 2 charities. So, but obviously it could be split between the 2 charities on the page, like you've talked about before. I understand what you're saying, and if I hadn't got that commitment on my book, then that could work maybe for another book in the future, but
Yeah.
I couldn't actually do that on this because it says that I'm splitting the money.
Yeah. That's fine. But remember, it's really, really important for charities, not for profits now, to start working with businesses, communities, all sorts on we succeed together. Not we're a charity and we want to consume your resources. It's so, so important.
Yeah, I get that. I can see that might be something that could work in the future if I did another book, for example.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, by the way, you could also rephrase it in terms of the profit goes to the 2 charities, but that's something you need to decide if that's applicable. Okay, let's go through the process of setting up a shop. Very straightforward. So if you come to your control panel, this is People's Fundraising default control panel, and scroll down to shops, click on shops, and then click on create a shop page. And as always, all of our pages have a page name and a page description. People don't read a lot, so keep the description short, succinct, meaningful. On all of our pages, you can display the total that's generated on the page, the total number of supporters who have purchased, and also you can display the share button. And each of your pages has its own unique page URL. Now, with a shop page, you can also ask supporters to supply a delivery address. So before you start selling items, think about how the items are going to be delivered or they're going to be received by the person buying them. Remember, these things can be virtual items, but especially if it's physical items, you want to think about whether, for example, in case of poetry, the contract could be, if you buy books, we will deliver those books to the school and the school will distribute them out. And therefore, you don't need a delivery address. But it could be the case that the school don't want to do that, and therefore you would want a delivery address, and then you would have to add a delivery component to the purchase of your items. Now, Catherine, you may go to one school and they may want to distribute books, and then you may want to go to another school and they may not want to distribute books. So your shop page can change dynamically over time. So, I'm assuming that you're going to go from one school to another school to another school, linearly. So the first school, you need to ask, okay, can you distribute the books? Yes or no. If they say yes, they can, select that to no. The next school you go to, you ask that same question and you come back and you update the parameters appropriately. Okay. Shops can also have start and end dates, but if it's one of those shops that, for example, it could be a Christmas fair shop, then you may want to have a start and end date, but otherwise you'll just select no to those values. So we press create, and then we assign our campaign. So Catherine, for you, this is where you would potentially highlight your campaigns 50-50, say, to the different charities. Okay, but again, you can have as any split that you want. So if you actually reasoned that the intent of you giving the money to charities is still upheld if you give the actual profit to the two charities, you could actually have a third. You could actually put the school here, and you could say maybe, I don't know, 10% goes to school. Was it 80? And then 45 to one charity and 45 to the other, because that 10% to the school or 20% to the school now becomes an operational expense, But again, you can split in any which way you want. Okay, so just for the sake of this presentation, I'll just add 100% to people's fundraising. Actually, here's another use of a shop as well. In terms of individual fundraising or supporter participation, I can do a lot of things on the platform. I can set up a fundraising page, run a cake bake marathon run. I could set up my own raffle, take it to the office. But if I'm a company and I sell widgets, I could come to the platform, set up my own shop page without your need to manage me, and I could set up the shop, put that I'm selling TED widgets, and you get the money. Okay, so shops can also be used in the context of individual fundraising, but also what you can do is, remember, there are a small number of companies who are going to give you their resources for free. There's a small number of schools who are going to give you their sources free. So everything needs to be about a balance and succeeding together. So what you could do, if there's a company who want to support you and they've got widgets that they can support you with, you could say, okay, well, let's succeed together. How about we set up a shop to specifically sell your widgets or services? So for example, it could be a local solicitor, and you set up a shop where people can come and buy consultations at that local solicitor. Instead of them just giving you that free all the time, you could say, okay, well, let's do it such that when somebody buys a consultation for £300, we as a charity will get 10% of that and you get 90% of that, and the system can pay and allocate automatically. Now, that is really important to understand what's happening here. When I give an example of that, firstly, you can now work with a whole range of communities and companies, whereby the communities and companies, they can either have their costs covered or raise income while they're engaged with you. Okay, so communities and companies want to engage with you for a charity because they want that charity association. But also, you have to realize that as a charity, you are a gatekeeper to a community of supporters. Okay, and so businesses, communities want to access that community of supporters, and therefore the shop is a really good way that a company or a school can access that community of sponsors, but ensuring that you also receive value from that engagement at the same time. Okay, so here's a really good example. I was speaking to Age UK, Leicestershire and Rutland the other day, and a company approached them. It was a pub chain, and the pub said, look, we're going to give for one night, for 3 hours, any of your clientele can come into the pub and get up to 3 free drinks. And how amazing was that, right? And so Age UK, Leicestershire and Rutland, they put an advert out on their Facebook page, and therefore it's really nice, for the older people. They can go to the pub and they can get 3 free drinks. But once we actually started to talk about what was actually happening in there, what happened there was the company made a business calculation in terms of they could give away 3 free drinks to, for 3 hours on a particular night, such that a certain proportion of those customers who go to the pub will become repeat customers into the future. Okay. And so they weren't actually giving away anything free. It was a business calculation in terms of how to, maximize their business into the future. Now, the question is, what did Age UK get from that? They didn't really get anything. Okay, maybe it was good for their beneficiaries, for their service users to have a night out. But other than that, they as a charity didn't get anything. So we thought about how we could reorganize that relationship such that the business still achieved its goals of getting new users, but also Age UK actually got something of tangible benefit. And here was an example of a shop. So Age UK in the future, because this is a deal that's been done. In the future, they can go to pubs and restaurants and things like that, and they'll say, okay, our beneficiaries, our client base can go to our Age UK shop page that talks about buying drinks in your bar. When people buy drinks, maybe it can be discounted drinks because while they go to the Age UK, so maybe they could buy discounted drinks or food via the page. And so that's an agreement between, say, the bar and Age UK, what the price of the drink. So Age UK beneficiary and clientele would buy the discounted drinks. That money would, at source of purchase or at point of purchase, be split between Age UK and the business. And then the people would go to the bar and they would enjoy their drinks. So that's a really, really good way of understanding that Age UK themselves, they are gatekeepers for a large community of beneficiaries, and therefore they have a relationship whereby they are generating income to support their own services, as well as the business is also generating income and meeting its goals. Okay, so as a charity, you need to make sure that you protect your community, and if another organization, could be a school, could be business, wants to access that community, make sure that you've set up an arrangement such that you are directly benefiting from that. Don't just give away things for free. Okay. So again, we could, on this, if we were setting up a shop and we were selling drinks, or maybe there was a restaurant or a restaurant chain, we could say split the money between the restaurant chain and ourselves as a charity. Okay. Right, let's click continue now. And this is where we start to enter our products. Each product has a product name and description. You can hide the description or not. Each product, you need to put in the product price with tax and without tax, and also the tax percentage. The number of products you have, so this is related to stock control, the minimum and maximum products anyone can buy at any point in time, so at the point of purchase. You can hide the product itself, you can hide the product counter. Now, there's this setting that says, do you want to attach the product to every purchase? So if you have a product that requires postage and packaging, okay, whereas you want to identify the postage and packaging separately. So if your product costs $3.99 and the postage and packing is $2.99, you don't want to lump the $2.99 with the $3.99. Then you can create a product PMP, product postage and packaging. Maybe it's £3. And then you would attach it to every single purchase. Now, when somebody goes to buy a group of products or one or two products or a poetry book, that product will now be attached to the purchase. In this case, it will be postage and packaging. Okay. So let's go back to.
So just a question there, Nathan, on that postage and packing. Do you have to put a product quantity?
I think you do. Yeah, I think you do.
One or.
Yeah, I think it's one. Yeah, I think it's
like
1 and 1.
1,000 kind of.
Yeah.
And then minimum product, maximum product. So if they buy more than one item, does that get attached twice?
No, I think it's to every purchase as opposed to each item.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why we've done it that way, if you look at most online retailers, it's generally the P&P is related to the complete purchase, not just the items.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you enter your product sale start and end dates. So there may be some products that expire, maybe they're seasonal. And what is also cool is you can add categories. So what could be a category? So at the moment, a category is something that's, well, let me give you an example. If I'm a school and I'm selling sweatshirts to the kids, so the product could be a sweatshirt, $3.99, and the category could be size, or the category could be color. So what you do here now is you say category name, size, color, small, medium, large. Okay, and you can have up to 3 categories at the moment. So you could have color, red, green, blue. Okay, and so when somebody's purchasing that particular product, they can refine it in terms of a category, and then you change the order appropriately on your side. So Catherine, if you have your book, and maybe you have the book in different colors, the cover is different colors, pink for girls, blue for boys, etc. You may want to put cover color or something like that. Okay. Now, at the moment, categories don't affect the price, but we're going to put an update into the system whereby a category change can affect the price as well. Okay, so that will mean in the future, hopefully this is coming, it will come after Christmas actually now, there'll be another, for example, category 1 price modifier here, and then just say this is a price modifier. A small, you could have 0, so that will change the price by 0. Medium, it changed by £2, and large, it will change by £3. So that will come in the future as well. Okay. And then you assign your products to the shop page. Now, before we go on, let's look at the optional parts. Products themselves can have different images, and we saw that in this here, whereby you can have multiple images. Just a note on the images, if you want the page to look nice, then it's quite good to do it in the way that these guys have done it. They've ensured that their images are the same height and width. As opposed to these guys, they haven't been so strict on the image height and width, and also they haven't been so strict on the length of the title as well. So this page is, I think, slightly more messy, whereas this page looks a lot more smart because the Bedford Food Bank have controlled the length of the title and also the images themselves. So it's really easy to understand this page, as opposed to it's a lot harder to understand this page because the formatting's being thrown out all over the place. Okay, so you can add multiple images. If you have multiple images, then there'll be an image slideshow here. And also you've got the scan and check facility. So scan and check is a subsystem throughout the whole of People's Fundraising, but in the context of shops, what is scan and check? When somebody makes a purchase of one or many products, they're going to get an email with a QR code in. Just say the instructions are that you have to take that QR code into the school, and then the school will give you the appropriate products that you've bought. Okay, so the person can take that email with the QR code in. The school can scan that QR code to see what you've bought. So 1 book of poetry, 2 book of poetries, 1 pink version, 1 blue version. They can give those products to the person because they've scanned the QR code. But importantly, they can then check off that they've given those products to the buyer. Okay, so if somebody therefore brings that QR code in again, the school can say, no, we've given those products already. Okay, so scan and check is a really, really nice feature. And again, it's also the same. We've got scan and check on tickets. So if somebody goes to enter A venue, you can scan and check. If they go to the burger van, you can scan and check that they've bought burgers. It's also in the context of membership. So maybe you buy a membership, and one of the perks is you can get into events free or half price. So you've got a Mears membership. You take the QR code in, you go to the vendor, and they scan it. Oh yeah, welcome. You're a gold member. Well done. So scan and check is a really, really nice addition. And also there's an SKU. I don't think the system really uses the stock keeping unit, does it? That's what it says here. Yeah, it's just for your internal stock management. So if you have a stock or product management system, there could be a specific SKU that you enter into the system, and therefore you're tying the online payment portal to your stock management system. Right, let's press create on that. And then we come to our view, update, delete shop pages page. And let's view and see what we've got so far. So this is a default look and feel for the shop page. It's the mustard yellow. I can turn this off and on if I want. I would want to add YouTube videos, Flickr slideshows to this to make it more interesting. It talks about who it's supporting. So if you had the relationship with the school, whereby when you sold your poetry books, a portion of the money would go to the school, then this would say you as an organization, but it also say it's supporting the particular school itself. And then when you went to the next school, you would update that so future purchases go to the next school, and then you could publicize the same page. And then when you go to the next school, you would update the campaign allocation again. Okay, so I can now, this product here, buy as many as I've been restricted to. I change the modifiers, and I click checkout. Google Pay, Apple Pay, debit card, credit card, PayPal. Most people pay with Google Pay, Apple Pay. I haven't required an address, but if I did specify I needed an address, it would be asked for here. And then I just confirm what I bought. If I had attached a postage and packaging, the postage and packaging would also appear here. I press pay. I wait for the Google thing icon to come up, and I just go through the Google Pay, Apple Pay purchase cycle. Okay. So really, really straightforward. Okay, so let's go back and see some of the other ways we can update that experience. So let's go back and click the update button. As ever, I can modify the theme to the page. Which one should we have? Let's just have a light blue theme. I can add as many images as I want. I can link my social media hooks into it. And Catherine, I don't know whether on the foster care charity website we've set up defaults, but any page that's created, we can set up that these are defaulted to whatever you want to set up. So if we haven't done that and you'd like that to happen, just let us know. Okay. Also, you can embed documents into the page as well. This is really nice addition. I was explaining this in the context of selling tickets for an event. So just say it's a sit-down event where there's a meal included, and you have to choose, if you want the vegetarian option or whatnot. You could put a link to a PDF that describes the meal options. And then when somebody goes to buy their meal options, they know what the meal options are. Or Catherine, in your case, you could put a PDF to a couple of pages from your book. So people can almost get a sampler, and that would appear on the page itself. You can change a short description. You can turn off and on payment methods. A lot of people are starting to turn off PayPal, although I wouldn't fully turn it off at the moment. Most people pay with Google Pay, Apple Pay. Also note as well that you can set up a gift voucher page. I can buy a gift voucher, say for my wife, and then my wife can use that gift voucher on any page that enables the gift voucher payment method. Okay. And so if you've got things like shops, me buying a gift voucher for my wife, she may be interested in buying a book of poetry, but via the gift voucher, but you need to have sold or set up and sold the gift vouchers in the first place, and then you need to enable that with yes or no. Okay. We can do small things like change the order of the items on the page, so whether they're listed A to Z, Z to A, high to low by price, and low to high by price. And also, if you really wanted to, you could just ask for an age verification when people went through the purchase cycle. So say you're selling alcohol or something like that, you may want to say, okay, confirm that you're 18 type thing. Okay. As ever, you can always ask for an optional donation. And for events, raffles, auctions, we always say you should give people the option. So all you need to do is select a page, and the associated donation will be listed on that page. Now, the important thing with adding the option for a donation is you need to move away from the mindset of you're trying to extract money from your supporters by selling them, for example, poetry books or branded items. And you need to think in terms of you are giving your supporters ways they can give you money because you want to support them. Okay, so if you're selling your poetry book and it costs $10.99, for example, okay, and I'm a supporter, I don't necessarily want to buy 2 poetry books at $10.99. I just want to buy one poetry book, but I want to give you £20. And unless you allow me to make an optional donation, you're restricting me from giving you money. Okay, so allow people to determine the extra value they find in the services you provide or how you present it by always linking an optional donation page. Okay, you can also link an optional tombola. That becomes an incentive to buy, and also you can link memberships as well. Now this is really cool. So all of our tools can be restricted by a previous membership purchase, and that means, Catherine, in the context of, say, foster care, you could have an individual's membership, community membership, and company memberships. You could have different tiers of individual membership, say maybe a free one where people get the newsletter, the next level whereby, I don't know, maybe they come into the office, and the next level whereby they get specific access to shops, raffles, events that are members only. Okay, so therefore we could create a shop that exclusively only sells to members certain items, or you could create an event that's exclusively for members, or you can create a raffle that's exclusively for members. And that's a really, really interesting thing. So if you just think about, for example, the donation ask and the membership ask, regular donation ask, regular member ask. A donation ask, the supporter gives you money, but it doesn't imply any sort of relationship at all, right? We need to move away from that. You need to move into the context of your supporters want to give you money, but they want to have a relationship with you. For the majority of supporters, it's not just, I'm giving you money, I don't want to hear from you again. I want to see what you're doing as a charity. I want to be a part of that charity. So at the very least, convert the regular donation ask to a regular membership ask, and give people options in how, the different tiers of membership they want to support you in. Okay. And then as part of that, then you can do, perks can be, as I've said here, a members only shop or members only raffle, etc. Okay. On the examples such as the donate food items, you're allowed to ask for a donation because we had set the page up such that it's a symbolic giving page. Symbolic giving means that the person buying the items won't receive any tangible benefit. Okay, so if we come here, right, and buy these, it's not going to ask me if I can gift aid this, because the person will receive tangible benefit in terms of the items that they're buying. Okay, although I can actually pay with voucher, which is cool. Whereas on this page, obviously, as we've seen, I can gift aid it because I'm not going to receive that tangible benefit. And the difference is this setting. Okay, So either it's a symbolic giving function or not. And by the way, we're rolling out symbolic giving to most of our functions. I think you can do a raffle that's symbolic giving, event that's symbolic giving. And the question is, you need to be creative with what that means. So what we realize with raffles, especially say, smaller school PTA raffles, people enter the raffle not because they want to win the wine or whatever they're selling, but because it's a more interesting way of engaging with the school or PTA, and it's a bit of a game. Okay, so why not take that to the next stage of saying, okay, instead of donating to us, we actually haven't got any physical raffle prizes to give you. Why not enter the raffle whereby the winner just gets the satisfaction of winning? Right. So sometimes you need to push the boundaries of what you can do, but a symbolic giving shop, you can really see why people would want to engage in something like this. I think symbolic giving raffles, although it's yet there, a few charities need to try out whether people just, instead of giving a donation, enter the raffle and win nothing other than satisfaction will be a goer. Okay, but we're giving you the option so you can play around. Okay. And also now we have impact champions. So this is a relatively new feature. So we have obviously we have the function whereby you can split the revenue, or you can split every purchase made on a page. So in this case, on the purchasing products. Okay, so that's predetermined at the campaign stage. But also, what you can say, okay, we've got the shop, we're selling items. Now we know that there are people who represent networks of other people. Could be an influencer. Again, it could be a school. It could be anyone. But again, the key thing here is you as a charity, you identify people, communities, companies who are proxies or gatekeeper community of people. Now, just say it's a influencer. The influencer with their 100,000 followers, that's their revenue stream. Okay, so why would they allow you to advertise your shop to their supporter base without them getting anything from it? So for example, some influencers, they may leverage their influence and they may say, okay, it's Christmas, I'm going to advertise you as a charity because it's Christmas and I think it's a nice charitable thing. But what about through the rest of the year? That influencer again is generating income from his relationship with his supporters. So what you can do, you can set the page up as an impact champion, and you can say, okay, we know that influencer in his or her relationship with their network is financially important. We would like that influencer to publish out our page and to access that network, but we want to recompense them for the access. So we will give anyone who passes that page on to their network and purchases from that page to be made, we'll give everyone, in this case, 10%, it could be 1%, it could be 100%, 10% of all of the income they generate from sharing. Okay, so therefore the influencer would more likely to, over the course of their general day to day, because they're generating income from a page they're advertising, they're more likely to promote your page more often than not. So yes, they still will promote your page sometimes for free, but they're a business, they're a community, they need to support themselves financially, and so you can incentivize them to do it. Okay, so therefore if we updated this page and then I gave that to an influencer, we could specifically track how many purchases that influencer made, because an impact champion, they get their own QR code, they get their own link as well. So the system would say, you've generated £3,000 from your shop page, £300 of that was generated from this particular influencer. Okay, so it's really, really good way of incentivizing, but also connecting with more commercially orientated organizations, or organizations that just maybe fundraise for themselves and they need to gatekeep their audience. Now you can also set this to 0 as well. Okay, which means that impact champions can still be tracked, but you're not giving them any, you're not formally giving them anything. So Catherine, in your case, what you could do is you could set impact champions to 0. Each of your schools could have their own Impact Champions links and QR codes, you could track how much each of the schools generated. And just say you did like 2 months, you did 8 schools, and then you could almost have a league table of who's generated the most money, and then you could maybe reward the school who's generated the most money. So that's a really another nice use of that as well, which is super cool. So yeah, think about Impact Champions and think about it as extending your network reach. Okay. And of course, we've got labels as well. So all the labels on this page, like supporting, about, buy now, you can just change for something else. So if we don't like supporting, we can put whatever we want there. If we don't like about, we can put whatever we want in there as well. Okay, so let's update that. And let's view that again. And again, I think the only thing we did, wasn't it, was to change the theme. But that's it. Super quick overview of shops. Hopefully that was more than you thought you were going to get. But shops are such an interesting function. And more and more charities are using it in more ways. Yes, Catherine.
Nathan, can I ask the updates that I can see in the middle of that page?
Yeah.
Add a status update. What is that, and does that have to be switched on, or
so
does the public see it?
Yeah, this only appears like this when you're logged in and you own the page. And what it's for is you can literally just add a status update, whatever that may be. Okay. So for example,
like we're running low on something or other.
Yeah.
Coming back into stock soon, or
that's right. That's a really nice example. And for example, if it was a fundraising page, it could be a day-to-day description of what the person was doing in training. If it was a members lottery page, it could be a history of who's won what prizes over time.
Got it.
But I love your example. Yes, it could be a commentary on maybe the things that are popular, maybe the things that are to your point are running out of stock and whatnot. Okay,
yeah.
Catherine, in your example, it could be how much each school has generated, for example. That's a really nice way of using that updates. But yes, it only appears here when you're logged in. Once you start putting some updates, obviously the update widget will appear on the final page, but it won't have this add status update button on there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I've got a few questions. If it's okay, I don't know if the other Catherine wants to ask anything else.
Yeah, go for it, Catherine.
Okay, right. So, we have, as I think anyway, we've got one charity bank account. So everything goes into that. But I was with another charity and we did have a shop bank account, but I presume that doesn't really matter. You can have one charity bank account, everything goes into that, whether you're using it a shop or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that right?
In general, every account, so in this case it's the People's Fundraising account on People's Fundraising, every account has an associated bank account.
Yeah.
So whenever you set up a page, any of these pages, the money will go to that bank account.
Yeah.
Now, because you can split the page across campaigns, that campaign may represent another account on People's Fundraising. Or if you've got your own branded platform and you're working with a local business, you would onboard that local business so they've got their own accounts. Catherine, on say foster care charity, they'll put in their own bank details. When you set up your shop, and you're working in partnership with the business, you would say 90% to foster care charity, 10% to the business. And because the business have got an account with their own bank details, the system will pay them their 10% automatically.
Yeah, I remember you actually telling us about that. So you can add both bank accounts. Yeah, I remember.
That's right. And remember, you can do as many splits as you want. So if you've got like 5 different partners, you can, and they've all got their own bank accounts, then that money is going to be split 5 times and the money is going to go to 5 different bank accounts.
Well, you talked about tax. When you sell books, there isn't any tax on books, I believe. So it would just be a 0 for that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
by the way, I'm not saying yes to that's the tax rule. I'm saying yes, if that's what the tax rule is, you'll put 0.
Yeah, no, I believe that is right. And Yeah. The other one. Oh yes. Is maybe you did show us this. Is there a space where, like I said, people could leave a message on it to me? For example, like, I mean, I obviously sign books because people want them signed. Not everybody wants me to dedicate them. Most people don't want them blank, left unsigned, but you could do. Is there a space where people can tell me what they want me to do with the book, sort of thing?
Yes, there is. So what you can do is you can either add a category for that. So maybe a category could be signed, unsigned, and whatnot. But remember, the categories don't modify the price at the moment. They will modify the price in the future. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
the other way to do it is add a questionnaire. And so with questionnaires, you can ask questions after the purchase or at point of purchase. Generally, we say only ask questions at point of purchase if they're absolutely necessary to the purchase itself. Otherwise, ask them after the purchase. And the reason why is the more things you ask people at the point of purchase, the more dropout there is. So you want to keep the point of purchase as lean as possible and then ask everything that's, not absolutely.
Is there somewhere where they can actually write, I want the book dedicated to my great Aunt Martha or whatever?
Yeah, you could say something. You could put a free text, say, if required,
Okay.
Enter dedication, right? And that will be a free text thing.
Okay, you can see how I'm not very experienced with the running of things like this. So it's yeah, okay, so that's what free text is. Fine. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, in general, by the way, so I think the use of free text for that particular use is really, really good. But in general, you want to stay away from free texts. So you want to be able to things that you can pass as automatically as possible. So yes, no's, male, female, true, false, date, time, number, list, or multi-select. And then you can process it more automatically.
So presumably you can just get rid of the things that you don't want and just leave on this questionnaire the things that you do want.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can also ask questions at point of purchase and post-purchase also, if you really wanted to. But we always say try and put everything after purchase. But if you put anything after purchase that's required, after purchase action, you can't force a person to do it. But you can force a person to enter information at point of purchase.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's nothing worse than having to sort of answer questions at the start of something that you're doing. Yeah, it's good.
And by the way, this sort of question here, I would definitely put that after purchase, because if people don't want a dedication, they're just not going to answer it.
Yes, exactly.
So.
Okay.
Okay, so if we, but that's how you do it. So in the future, you may want to use categories for that modify the price. Other than that, use questionnaires. Okay. Right, ladies. Anything else on super?
Sorry,
sorry. Go and sort out my shop. I do have to leave, so sorry, but that's been super helpful, Nathan.
All right. Thank you very much, Catherine. Catch you again soon.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye-bye. So basically then, I'm also, I could set up something like this, couldn't I? Because I'm offering my services to do assemblies in schools, and to maybe run a creative writing workshop. And the idea is that people would either buy my books, which the money would go to charity. They're not paying me anything to do it. I'm doing it as a volunteer. Or I've sort of said, if they want me to do something more, say they wanted me to do an assembly and a workshop, I think that warrants them making a donation or something towards charity. So I could actually set that up as it's a service I'm offering. So could that be set up on a shop page?
Yes,
in the same way. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, So, I mean, that could work really well, couldn't it? Having a page with the book and with the service I'm offering, and therefore people would just. And if I'm offering a service, would you know? Again, I presume that can't be gift aided. The donation that they would make for that.
That's correct. So that's receiving somebody something tangible. So you can't gift aid that. But also, I would create 2 different shops for that. And the reason why is the shop selling your book, that's orientated towards, say, parents and children, whereas the shop selling your service, that's orientated towards the school.
Yeah.
So don't mix the two. And this is what you can do. You can create 2 shops, 2 different purposes, 2 different audiences.
Yeah. Okay. So, for example, I've been approached by a charity, and they want me to go in and run some workshops and things for them. Now, I don't know. It may be that I end up, my services will go towards their charity. But I may well want to try and negotiate something with them where they could give a donation to the charity that I'm the trustee for. So so that would work, wouldn't it? I could say to them,
yeah, you could say to them, give us a donation, or if you're the person who's controlling the shop pages, then you can control the allocation. So you can say, okay, 10% is going to go to our charity, and 90% to the other charity, or whichever split and mix you like.
would you